Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be showing my lip product favorites. Welcome back, and today we're going to be doing a very long overdue video. So last year I was maybe a bit ambitious. I did a series of sort of my favorites, like non-eyeshadow products, because obviously like on my favorites playlist you can see a plethora of like eyeshadow themed favorites videos by categories. I love eyeshadow, and that is mainly the thing I like to talk about in this channel, but I do obviously like review also other makeup products. So I think last year I did manage to do the cheek products and I think complexion products maybe, and the lip product video was supposed to come last year, but then I didn't have time at any point to film it, so we are doing the lip products now. I put this into like categories that I'm gonna go through the glosses, then I'm gonna be, I think there's one lip stain kind of product, then we have a lip liners, and then we're gonna have like traditional bullet lipsticks, though I do think we're actually gonna be starting with maybe lip liners and then go from there. But if you are sort of curious of what kind of are my lip product preferences and why I like those particular products, then keep on watching. Okay, so from lip liners, I'm the kind of person who likes like very middle. I don't like super creamy lip liners, but I also don't like super like tuggy or difficult to work with lip liners. Why I don't like super creamy lip liners is purely because I don't like them bleeding. Unfortunately, with age, especially bleeding lip liners, they are gonna emphasize some things on your lip line that you don't want to emphasize. So that is the reason why I like a good middle option where you have that there's a light to it, but it's also something that's gonna stay put. I think if I'm gonna go from maybe like there is one bit on the more like drier side of a lip liner formula that I would recommend, but isn't still like too tuggy, then I would have to say that are the NYX's, and these are their like OG traditional lip liners. I would say that the only thing about these NYX lip liners is that unfortunately, considering especially the price of these in Europe, you don't get that lot of products. Like for example, I haven't had this long and I'm already like I have already used this much, and these weren't like, you don't get that much product, especially compared to the two other lip liners that I am gonna be discussing after these ones. But if you are looking for something maybe a bit more long lasting from the drugstore and you're okay for paying a bit more compared to the amount of product you're getting, I do think these NYX liners are a good option. And all of the lip liners I'm gonna show are sharpenable. I like the sharpenable ones much better because you get more precise application. Then something that I say that especially considering that if you are balling on a budget, so the W7 lip liners, these are a very good lip liner in the fact that they are very easy to work with, but they aren't like overly creamy to the point that they are gonna bleed out, especially if you use glosses with them. And you get a huge amount of product, so I think this one is, I have used this particular shade a little bit, but as you can see, you get quite a lot. And these are like, I think in our store, like drugstores, these W7 sharpening lip liners, these go for around, I think these are like €3 or something, so they are very inexpensive. The only downside of this one is that this particular range, because W7 has a couple of lip liners in their selection, I think there's only like 4 or 5 shades, and all of them are pretty, what I would say, they are like deep and a bit like more neutral leaning. But if you are able to find a shade with these W7 sharpenable lip liners, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed, especially if you're looking for a good in-between formula. Then the third one, which I think is also quite similar to the W7 one, but with this one you definitely do have a good range. So P. Louise's lip liners. These again a good in-between formula where the glide is very easy, you get a lot of pigment, but these don't bleed, for example, with glosses. And with P. Louise they have quite a few shades. I have, for example, mainly the pink neutral shades, but they do these in reds and also in brown neutrals. These have been now on sale for quite some time, so I'm a bit unsure that is P. Louise revamping this particular line. But I do say that if you are especially now shopping on their website, at least you have been for some time been able to get these on kind of offer. And with this one there is definitely like a very big range to choose from, so I do think from this range you are probably gonna find a good lip liner shade, like no matter what kind of lip product color you like to use. Then let's go to the glosses, and from glosses we have 2 shimmery ones and then there is a non-shimmery formula. So I think let's get the obvious one out of the way. One of them is gonna frankly go to the floor. So I have said this many times, Fenty's gloss bombs are, in terms of the more like what I would say maybe expensive lip glosses, and Fenty isn't like that expensive, like it's not the most expensive high-end brand, but these are like I think the more pricier things that are included in this favorites video. So these ones, Fenty has come out with these now in several variations. You have had lip oils, you have had non-shimmery versions of these ones. There's you have plumping ones and non-plumping ones. I'm not a fan of the plumping ones, so I'm a very like traditional OG gloss bomb fan, and especially a fan of the shimmer ones. Some of these are more opaque shades than others. So for example, this one that was included in the recent Valentine's Day collection, this very hot pink one, this is definitely shows a pink, but then for example, this one, which was in one of their holiday sets during, I think, last Christmas, this one doesn't have that much pigment to it. So you do get a nice variation, and I think you can like find a favorite from this particular line if you are into glosses. Also the shimmery ones, not gritty, you don't feel any shimmer particles on your lips when you wear these, and the wear time of these ones is, I would say, for glosses an okay. Obviously, because it's a gloss, it's not the most long lasting of products, and with these ones you do have to definitely apply them during the daytime, but it's a very beautiful formula if you're just looking for a good basic gloss, and you especially want you want variety of what kind of shades or formulas you get. I do think the Fenty one is a very excellent option. Then if you don't want to spend the Fenty prices but you want the same versatility, the Kiko 3D Hydro Glosses. Again, these come in a plethora of different kind of formulas. You have shimmery ones. I prefer the shimmery ones. I think I've discussed this several times that I like my shimmery glosses. And just like with Fenty's, the shimmery ones are not gritty, but they are very sparkly. But with this range, you also have non-shimmery ones. They are plumping ones, which obviously, again, I stay away from those. And just also you do get lip oil variation of these ones, and you also kind of have now, I think, lip balms also in a similar packaging with these ones. So again, very good range with this one. And these Kiko ones are less expensive than the Fenty ones. These aren't still the most like inexpensive drugstore glosses. I think these go around 12 euros or 14 euros. Some of the limited edition ones, for example, are a bit more expensive, but these are more like drugstore price compared to the Fenty ones. So if Kiko Milano is available to you, I would 100% recommend these ones if you don't want to, for example, pay the Fenty prices. Then a sort of non-shimmery variation. So gloss cut. Sorry, wrong indie brand. So Odensai has now actually brought out quite a lot of lip products, and they have most of their glosses are these like I can actually show this bit closer. So most of their glosses are these like non-shimmery ones, or the ones that have shimmer. There isn't like, I think, a lot of shimmer particles. This is what I would say more that if you have like used a lot of like K-beauty or Asian beauty glosses, this is the kind of jelly gloss formula, which is actually a bit more long lasting than maybe some of the two other formulas that I just showed. Because it does have a bit more, maybe it's not sticky per se, but it just like stays on your lips a bit better. Again, as a sort of range, I do think Odensai has quite a lot of these now, but I do have to say one like critique I have for the Odensai range is that a lot of the shades are very orangey brown or red leaning. So unfortunately, if you are buying this kind of formula, especially from Odensai, if you are into your pinks and nude shades, then you probably are not gonna find the like shade. But if you are generally someone who likes to shop, for example, K-beauty or Asian beauty brands, then you can maybe find something similar from like other from those brands, and maybe in a more nude or like pink shades. But I wanted to bring out the Odensai one because I do especially know that for indie brand lovers this might be a bit more like accessible way to get this kind of gloss formula. So I think if you are especially into your non-shimmery glosses, you want maybe something more long lasting, and you are into maybe your more brown, red or orange leaning shades, then the Odensai glosses could be a good option for you. Then the only like lip lacquer kind of product, so this is something that I wasn't expecting to like as much that I have it. So this is the Catrice Shine Bomb for lip lacquer formula. Bit unsure, I hope this formula is still available because Catrice has a very bad habit of discontinuing their products some of their popular products quite quickly. And this is definitely one of those lip lacquers that if you truly want something that is gonna show very pigmented and punchy on your lip, then this is an excellent formula for that. But why I do like this a lot was because I was initially thinking when I got this that, oh dear, that this is gonna be one of those very messy opaque glosses that are gonna go everywhere, but this actually, once it sets down, this will stay put. This is the kind of like, because it's a lip lacquer, some of the color is gonna wear off when you drink and eat during the daytime, but it's gonna actually wear off in a very nice way. For me, especially why I appreciate this formula is that while it's a very punchy color, it kind of wears off nicely, because especially in that second concern I had with this kind of product is that I'm gonna have a very patchy lip at some point when I have been eating and drinking, but this actually like wore off also very evenly. So I think that if you're looking for a good lip lacquer kind of product and you want especially something a bit more brighter but still something that you don't have to baby during the daytime or be worried that you have it all over your face, the Catrice one, this could be a very good option. Then lastly, let's get to the sort of bullet lipsticks, and I'm actually a very traditional girl in the fact that I actually prefer like bullet lipsticks over, how should I say, other kind of lip products. So first one, let's go from Kiko. So Kiko, there's one particular lip product formula from Kiko that gets a lot of like people buzzing usually during Christmas time, and it is their like metallic shimmery lipstick. I have like my own trauma. For example, I think NYX had one, like NYX for example used to have a metallic liquid lipstick in their line, and I wasn't a fan of it, but this is actually a like liquid metallic lipstick done right in a sort of like bullet kind of format. So obviously, because it's a bullet lipstick, it is very nice and creamy to put on. It's a very like easy generally to apply, and this actually looks very flattering on your lip. And it's a the shimmer particles can be a bit like the shimmer particles maybe kind of give this promise that if you're expecting like a super lot of sparkle when you wear this, then you are probably gonna be disappointed. But if you want something just more like festive and something that is definitely more on the metallic side, then these are gonna fulfill your expectations. And I just think that this is a formula that Kiko does really well, because it's a very like it's a very easy to use formula, but it actually surprisingly well also stays put, because with some of the very creamy bullet lipsticks, why I haven't been liking those is that I have to be very careful, especially if I've eaten something, that I will have to immediately check on the mirror that do I have lipstick like somewhere that it shouldn't be. But these actually have the kind of good side that these actually stay on your lips for relatively well, even if you can obviously see that these are very like pigmented lip shades. Something also to consider from these kind of, I think it's something to do with the formula, you don't get too like much neutral shades. So usually when Kiko releases these like metallic lipsticks on their limited edition collections, usually they are like pretty punchy or red leaning shades, so that's just something to consider. If you are into your more nude lipsticks, then this might not be the formula for you. But I do think that if you are into this sort of like metallic lipstick formula and you want something that will certainly look flattering on your lips, I do think Kiko they have managed to nail this formula, because they have now done this in quite many collections. Then a satin lipstick formula, and I would very much wish that we would get more satin lipstick formulas, but unfortunately satin lipsticks haven't been exactly trendy. I do think that might be something that a lot of brands think that, oh, that's something very old school, that no one wears satin lipstick anymore, but I would like to get more satin lipstick formulas, because I think for me it's just the right kind of formula where it's hydrating, it looks nice on your lips even if you would already start to maybe show some signs of aging, and it's still like something that stays put relatively well. But I do say that one high-end brand, so Natasha Denona, I think this is one of the few, like, what I would say, like, high-end lip formulas that I would say that is worth its price. So, as I said, this is a very traditional satin lipstick formula where it has a bit of creaminess to it, but it actually still stays put. It looks flattering on your lips. It's easy to work with, but it's also not super drying, because I am soon you're gonna lastly see the bullet matte lipsticks that I have for this video, and with those ones, especially at the end of the day, your lips might start feeling a bit that they need something maybe a bit hydrating. This one won't feel drying at any point of the day. It's pigmented. Natasha Denona, for example, has a very good shade range. I think with this range it definitely shows that it's a makeup artist range, because you do have your neutrals, but you also do get your punchy reds. And yeah, if you are like someone like me who's missing these satin lipsticks, this is a high-end formula that I would recommend. I'm kind of thinking that I maybe should try to like find a drugstore Yeah, maybe I'll take it as my task to find a good drugstore option for this one, because I do know that these are pretty pricey. You like definitely in terms of packaging, like with these ones, you can definitely feel the price also in the packaging. But yeah, maybe I'll try to find a drugstore correspondent for this one, because I do know that as I said, these are pretty pricey. So for those of you bowling on a budget, I do know these are probably out of reach. But if you can afford these and you are especially into your satin lipstick, then just one recommendation. Then 3 bullet matte lipstick formulas. For this one, I actually do have a drugstore variation, so the e.l.f. one. This is not as matte as the 2 other ones that I'm gonna show. The e.l.f. one is like has a bit more maybe creaminess to it, and it's not so full-on matte, but I still would say that this is a matte. First of all, I always say with this e.l.f. formula, this is a formula that doesn't feel like a drugstore formula. It actually feels a very elevated formula. The packaging is also pretty nice for what you're getting in a drugstore, and I do think that if you are into especially a more opaque bullet matte lipstick and you are on a budget, the e.l.f. ones, I would 100% get these. The shade range is pretty decent. I do think you get some neutrals in this one, but you also do get some reds and pinks, so you do have a nice gradient. And this is one of those kind of formulas that there is a sort of like initial layer, but then when you eat and drink, there is still a like thinner layer underneath, so you kind of still have color with this one, even if you would have eaten or drank something, so you don't immediately have to necessarily go and reapply with this one. But as I said with when I discussed another Shidinona satin one, this is a formula that especially if you suffer from dry lips, and especially if you wear this through the day, at the end of the day you might start feeling that you need a lip balm or something on your lip, because this is still formula wise, even though it's not as matte as the 2 other ones I'm gonna show, it is still on the like matte side. And then the bullet matte lipsticks, which I thought that I'm gonna like I have like the expensive option and the non-expensive option. So Pat McGrath's trans matte lipsticks, I think, like, I know Pat McGrath hasn't been maybe the most popular brands in recent years. I have discussed on my makeup news video about that the brand, they almost went into bankruptcy, but they did manage to get some new financing, and now I'm hoping that they have gotten some new finances, and it seems that Pat McGrath is now interested again in her brand, because she did the whole thing that she went as a designer, like as a creative director to the Louis Vuitton Beauty, and that was very strange because we all were questioning, is she gonna be now doing anything for her brand anymore? But she's apparently now interested in her brand again, so maybe we'll start seeing in product. But these traditional trans matte lipsticks, if you are very much into, you want a full-on like matte lipstick, but you don't want to go to the liquid lipstick route, but you want a bullet matte variation, these I still think are the best you can get. But these are very pricey. I would wait that if you can get these on sale, then shop them on sale. Pat McGrath, again, because I do think it's a makeup artist like founded brand, the shade range is very extensive. You have like all the shades from like neutrals to like deep reds to this one, so you will be able to find a shade. Again, only downside of this one is that while it is very long lasting, at some point during the daytime you are probably gonna start feeling on your lips that, hey, I would like a lip balm would be a nice thing. But if you're looking for just something that is gonna stay put, but you don't want to go to the liquid lipstick route, then the Pat McGrath ones, these are still very excellent. And I do think like with the Pat McGrath ones, like the price, you get a very like high-end packaging and everything, so the price kind of shows in, and this feels like a heavy bullet. Then if you don't want to go to the Pat McGrath route, you are on a budget. This is from Kiko's. These are their stylo lipsticks, and I did show this has the very, 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 very funky packaging. Still going to say the cap feels very flimsy, so I don't know how long this packaging is gonna last, but it is still like cool to do it, like shows you how it works. So in terms of formula, I do think this is pretty close to the Pat McGrath one. The packaging not as high-end as the Pat McGrath one. This feels definitely a drugstore packaging, but it is kind of cool packaging. It's a bit different from what we usually see from lipstick packaging. Just like with the Pat McGrath one, if you're looking for something long-lasting, this is definitely a good option for you, but at the end of the day, your lips are gonna start feeling a bit dry. With the Kiko, I don't think the shade range is as extensive. I remember when I looked at this in store, because I was actually able to buy this on a Kiko store. I think it was in the... I was in airport. It was in the... I was in the Amsterdam airport, I think. Yeah, because I had a work trip to Netherlands during last fall. That's when I got these. So anyway, on the Kiko store, I think this was a bit more neutral brown leaning range. So the shade range in the Kiko compared to the Pat McGrath one, not as extensive, but if you are into your neutral brown leaning shades especially, I do still think, they do have few reds in this range, but as I said, not as extensive as the Pat McGrath one. But I mean, if you are, as I said, on a budget and you want something a bit more different in terms of the packaging, I do think the Kiko one is still a good option. And formula-wise, I do think this is pretty close to the Pat McGrath one. Those were my lip product favorites. Comment down below what are your top 3 lip products that you like to use. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog on Instagram. I'll back you soon in the video. Bye bye!